All right, Forrest, thank you for taking the time to chat with me today. Um, with some of my clients, I like to do a short mindfulness before we jump in. Would a centering exercise like that feel comfortable for you or be of interest?
Yeah, I'm wide open for that. That sounds great.
Do you want to do your own thing, your own sort of mindfulness for a minute, or would you like me to lead something?
You leading something would be wonderful.
All right, so I'll invite you to get into a comfortable position. Close your eyes if you'd like, and just take a couple of deep breaths, noticing where the air is coming in through your nose, noticing your breath going out. And just become aware of what's happening for you in this moment. What are you noticing in your body? What are you noticing in your mind, in your heart? And as you become aware of whatever is there for you, just observe it with acceptance, acknowledge its existence, and come back to your breath. And as you're noticing your breathing, think about what feels most important to you in this moment to deal with in this session with me. What's top of mind? What's weighing on your heart? What's present for you? Continuing to notice your breath. When you're ready, open your eyes. What feels important to focus on today?
Yeah, thanks for that. That was really nice. I feel quite expansive and spacious in my body, and I felt like almost like I was crying in my face. Um, and I realized I have a lot of uh, like the COVID situation for the holidays is really challenging me,
Hmm.
and I feel really sad about um, yeah, the possibility of not seeing my family on Christmas this year. Um, yeah, sort of like whether or not my grandparents, I mean, we always go to my grandparents' house for Christmas, and like whether or not that's going to happen and whether it's safe and kind of what the, for lack of a better word, the right thing to do is. Yeah, and I'm just realizing I have some really deep sadness around that.
Hmm. Yeah, I can completely understand that. What would make the next 20 minutes or so feel valuable and worthwhile for you?
Mm. I think just exploring kind of what's alive around that. Um, I'm more curious around getting to know it's like that really beautiful mindfulness exercise you just led me through helped me become present to like another layer of the experience I'm having. So a little bit like I'm more interested in understand like peeling back some of the layers than I am like kind of getting to a decision at the moment.
All right. So let's start to peel those layers back. What did you notice? You mentioned you felt like on your face was ready to cry. There's deep sadness that you feel about these holidays. Tell me more about that. What's alive for you there, as you put it?
Hmm. Yeah, it's like I feel like a lot of the conversations I have been in have been around um, what are we going to do and what do we think of so and so's opinion and this decision. And I think for me, I'm becoming present to like desire to just almost like grieve together, like
Mm.
for how hard this has been. And sort of like be in the helplessness around it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And there's there's a little part of me with like a little bit of fierceness that's like, how long is this going to go on? Like what are we doing here?
Mm.
Like it's almost like we've been running away from something for a year, and it's like, are we going to do this for another year? Are we going to do this for 10 years? Like what are we doing here?
Yeah.
So that starts to become alive as I open up more to what's happening.
Yeah, it's obviously been a struggle for everyone, and we're all making decisions balancing safety and sanity. And sometimes those are really difficult decisions,
Mm-hmm.
especially when it's a multi-party negotiation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Can we come back to this feeling of helplessness? And I'm curious about what you're getting, what you're feeling from the other people involved, your other family members. What's the impact on you of these conversations?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, it feels like the ball's just totally in my court. Like if I want to go home, that's great. If not, totally understand. It's a weird year. Like, I mean, I'm in Austin, Texas. My family's in North Carolina. Like there's sort of this, it feels like that's a long way to come, especially in this context. So I feel like very like refreshed in a sense of like not having a whole web of external conflict and drama or things like that to navigate.
Mm-hmm.
It just feels like the ball's in my court. So yeah, and yeah, I mean, and it's just sort of bringing up for me like what's the best thing to do here, and when to even make the decision.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, because I could make it technically day of. I could just buy a plane ticket on Christmas Day and fly there. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's like being with the sort of subtleties that are unfolding and the complexity of it, and just even in like hour by hour, day by day, how things change. So
Mm-hmm.
feels very up in the air.
Mm. And the fact that it's your decision, I imagine, comes with some ease and some weight. That's a nice thing, and it's a challenging thing.
Yeah, right. It's like give me one sec.
You're fine.
Yeah, I mean it's got the empowerment and the responsibility.
When you close your eyes and you think about making this decision, in what ways do you feel torn in different directions or pulled in different directions?
Yeah, that's great. Well, part of me is just pulling and saying, "Hey, just stay here, man. Like it would be so easy. You don't have to do anything. You just stay here." Like, yeah, like it's that it can just be another day. Like it doesn't even. You can just call family or something like that. But just so simple. Another part of me is, yeah, pulling me towards going to be with my family, like for the holiday, and hey man, going to be with my family for the holiday, and you know, I there's part of me that feels like if people in my family are having a challenge around this year, like I want to be able to be there to help be supportive for them, and to like be a space where they can share. And yeah, I'm seeing the kind of chorus inside myself light up. Like another part's like, you could do that over the phone. And I'm just sort of seeing these different parts coming online.
What else is there in this cacophony?
Yeah.
What are the voices you're hearing? What are they saying?
Well, there's a real young part of me that I've been off on this great big adventure, sort of came out here on a whim, have been living day by day the whole time. And there's a young part of me that's like, it would be nice to just go home and sort of like rest and kind of recalibrate and just sort of like process the last few months. In the safety of my childhood environment, right? Like
go home again, ground, rest.
Yeah, like sleep in my childhood bedroom, just kind of like be, you know what I mean? Like eat one of my mom's meals, like, it's just
like there's a comfort that makes sense that the young part of you wants.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
especially I'm sure the whole team could get on board, but definitely definitely that young part is like, man.
Sometimes that young part of me is the most powerful.
You know what I mean? Especially if I ignore it.
Yep. I identify. Any other important voices that you're hearing? Statements that are being made?
I'm just hearing how amazing Austin's been since I came here about 3 months ago. And it's like, there's a part of me, it's like, hey, I really don't want to go home and like sort of get caught up in being home. I don't want to go there and feel sort of lost and disoriented and like my whole life is here. There's so many great things going on, and sort of feel like I'm in a funk while I'm there. Like, why isn't anything moving? It's like, well, because everything that's moving is in Austin. So yeah, I got a few instruments playing for sure.
So let's go back to these. Let's take the last one. Austin is amazing. Let's continue focusing on ourselves and the next steps, the reason we came here. Where is that coming from? Which part of yourself is that coming from?
The first thing that comes up is like the creative part of myself. Like I've really been opening up and embodying more fully my capacity to create my experience while being in Austin. And I'm really enjoying it, and it's going well. And I mean, it's still kicking my butt, of course, and it's really fun.
What is the role or the purpose of this creative part of yourself in the holistic view of Forest?
The role or purpose. It's interesting. It's kind of like a part that comes, the role or purpose. It's like it's a future creator. I mean, it's a dreamer, right? It's a dreamer. That's what the role I would give it. And its role to dream, and to dream like consciously, right?
It sounds like it might be also to dream for you, to create a future, starting with a dream for all of you. Does that resonate?
Something to live into. Yeah.
When you think of the young part of you, what's its purpose? The small child who's saying, go home, rest, reconnect with your upbringing, with what's comfortable, process what you've gone through, recalibrate.
Yeah, the first thing I got is not its purpose, but it was that it wants to feel safe. Its purpose is to help, is for fun. The purpose is fun and play.
So it wants to feel safe. That's powerful. There's an uncertainty and a vulnerability, and therefore a courage that comes with this adventure that you've been on.
Yeah, and sometimes the conscious dreaming can get a little serious, and so the young part of me comes out. It's like, hey, wait a minute, it's really important to me that we have fun and that we have some play in here. Actually, quite a bit.
You also said there is a desire to be a source of support, create a space of sharing for your family, especially in this difficult time. Where does that come from, and what's its goal and needs?
It wants the people, it wants to be supportive. It wants the people I love to know I love them. Yeah, to care, to be there, to be a support, like a nurturing care.
Is there a responsibility there?
Possibly like self-imposed responsibility. There is, yeah, there's a little self-imposed responsibility there. Like, oh, I have the skills and capacities to do this, so I have some responsibility to use them, is the story that this part has.
And I just want to repeat back to you what you said, to ensure that the ones you love know that you love them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting because when I hear that, it's like this part is feeling really challenged in this context, because the way that it shows people love might not be the wisest thing to do right now in terms of showing people love.
How do you show people love? How does this part of you want to show it?
It wants to show it by being present with people and listening and holding space and comforting and sort of like welcoming all the different parts to the party and these kinds of things. It's like my inner coach, I guess. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is that a physical presence requirement?
The first thing I get is ideally, right? Yeah. It's like that's what I hear. And no, I mean, I have been doing this with my family over the phone. Yeah, and I'm seeing this part kind of shift into a little bit of a question of like, okay, well, I'm seeing that I'm actually like fulfilling my own need by trying to be there for people. So what do other people actually need? Because that's actually more important to me, right? Like I think I know what people need, and therefore I'm giving it to them. And I'm realizing that this part's a little bound up in that.
What does it look like to identify what people actually need?
I suppose ask and listen. I mean, what I'm hearing is that there's a lot of space this year. Like there's not really a right or wrong thing to do. And I know that the people in my family know that I'm thinking of them and doing them, you know, in the question around what the wisest thing to do is and these kinds of things. So I know they must feel a sense of like care in that. So that kind of releases a self-imposed burden a little bit. Yeah, I feel a lot more spaciousness around that.
There's one other part of yourself and comment that I wanted to come back to, which is the first part. You said there's a voice you're hearing that says, just stay here, man. Where is that coming from?
That's coming from ease. Don't need to go anywhere, do anything, get on a plane, buy any gifts. Just the same, like same day, just another day.
Is it laziness, or is it what you really need?
That's a good question. I guess I got to kind of check in with the whole band here. I mean, this part has been sitting at the table and listening to everyone else the whole time. So it doesn't feel like it's trying to wall everybody off and say, let's just forego thinking about all this and not do anything. It's more of like, okay, this part would say, okay, considering everything I've heard, why don't we just stay here and call everyone up on Christmas? Like it's not ignoring everyone. It's taking all that in. And this part's perspective is, why don't we just stay here?
Is that typically its role?
Yeah, I guess so.
When you first made this statement, it sounded like it was coming from a real internal piece of yourself. So I'm a little bit surprised to hear that its role and its purpose is as a kind of listener, convener, organizer of ideas, and kind of group decision maker. But yeah. So yeah. when you check in with all of these different parts of yourself, the part that says, just stay here, man. The part that wants to ensure that people know that you love them. The part that wants to feel safe and bring play. The creative, conscious dreaming and living into that dream part that can be more serious. When you consider all of those voices, any other voices that you're hearing, and you look at where they're coming from, what their role is, how connected to your true self they feel. What is most at the heart of the matter for you?
Most at the heart of the matter. There's two things coming up pretty strongly. One is three things, I guess. The first is how nice it is to feel everybody here, right? The second is, now that everyone's here, I am becoming aware it's just not time to make this decision yet. And the third is alignment. Like there's this, right now the parts inside of myself are starting to cultivate some intimacy between each other and get to know each other a little bit better. And so it's almost taking care of itself a little bit. Like I'm just sort of feeling it, come together. So that'll be interesting to be in that as it becomes time to, or as a decision is made, I suppose is the way I'd say it.
Yeah. So not the right time to make a decision, but it's nice to be present with everyone. And there's a process of alignment, of intimacy in bringing everyone together. What comes next for all of you?
Continuing to cultivate intimacy. See if any other voices pop up that want to come share. And allowing each part to do what it needs to do in external reality to get the information that it needs. Like one part of me needs to call my family, the part of me that feels like it wants to go home to be safe and rest and recover is like, hey, I'd like to take a nap, right? Like letting each part kind of get what it needs as we're in this inquiry together.
And what do you envision comes, what do you envision that looks like providing? It sounds like you're providing what each part needs, and that coming out of that, a decision will become clear. It will become a time for a decision to be made, and you'll have some clarity on what direction to go.
Yeah, I feel a real deep sense of peace in that. Like it's like a real, feels like a lot of peace in that process.
What support, if any, would be helpful for you in continuing with this process?
It'd be really good if I make a practice of just checking in on this gathering, this convening, at least a couple of times a day, and just for the next, I don't know, week, and see how things are unfolding.
Is there a way that I can be a support or a sense of accountability related to that?
I'd love to shoot you a note and let you know what unfolds.
Please do.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear from you. All parts of you.
Yeah, right.
All right. I look forward to receiving an email then.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Forrest.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.